Allow for the pause. Welcome to the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focused and the Original Hooters. I'm Sam Holt, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Derek Tate. Derek, how are you on this wonderful Saturday?
I'm fantastic, other than the fact that we have to wait until Sunday for these conference championship games. I got a little spoiled getting NFL football on Saturday and Sunday over the last 2 weeks. But overall, I'm here in Cadillac, Michigan. I'm, buried in under about 6 to 12 inches worth of snow. So I'm not going anywhere today. So happy video game Saturday and fantasy debate Saturday.
Yes, happy Fantasy Debate Saturday. I'm sorry about the snow. I know I was really cold this morning when I woke up. It was kind of foggy when I went to the gym. I want to say it was like, it was a very brisk 47. For California, that's cold. That was about it. It's probably going to end up being about 70 today. I'll just stop talking.
It was like 5 degrees last night in Cadillac, Michigan. And and honestly, on these days off that I have, which seem like they're fewer and far between, Kelly hates, the fiance hates when I play video games all day. So I just told her, if you hate watching me play video games all day, get a hobby. Anyway, let's move on. What do we got on today's plate?
On today's plate, we've got kind of a lot of news stuff to cover. So a lot of coaching changes and people that were hired to talk about and speculate on. Also, a little bit of retirement news. We're going to briefly talk about Luke Kuechly and his retirement at 28. And then we'll jump right into the games tomorrow and the top scorers we like for DraftKings. So let's just go ahead and kick it off with some of these coaching changes. And just to kick it off real quick, I want to start with Jason Garrett being hired as the new offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. I know that we talked a little bit last week, just off air, about Joe Judge being the new Giants head coach. I kind of want to just kick this off to you, Derek, because I know you have quite a strong opinion about poor old Joe, but how do you feel about Jason joining his team?
So if you're asking me, do I like the fact that he brought in an experienced offensive mind in the NFL for a green head coach? Absolutely. I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense. I'm actually kind of surprised that Jason Garrett is willing to go to a division rival with the New York Giants, take a step down to work under Joe Judge, who has no NFL head coaching experience in the league. In fact, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this. And I'm going to throw it back to you with a question. How is the Rooney Rule just complete bullshit? How did Joe Judge, who spent the majority of his time as a special teams coach, both with like the University of Alabama under Nick Saban and with the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick? He had one season as a wide receiver coach, and they were one of the least wide receiver productive groups in the entire National Football League. So, and when you hear him talk, I understand he speaks very well. Like, he represents himself well. Like, he seems like an organized, disciplined man, which seems like he's no bullshit and is able to handle the New York media trying to pepper him with questions. He interviewed very well. I can see why.
Yeah.
But outside of that, is it complete bullshit when you see someone like Joe Judge with no prior head coaching experience, and really no dominant performances like a coordinator in the league, get a head coaching gig in the number one media market in the entire United States? It's baffling.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely baffling. And I think that on one hand, it's kind of, does the Patriots' pedigree of being hired and having been there hold really that much clout with some of these people? Or is it just that, like you said, he's so well-spoken and such a good face to put on for the Giants, that's really the look that they're going for, is someone that in the media is going to be well-spoken and not immediately be hounded on as being bumbling in any way. I do like the addition of Jason Garrett, like you said, helping out, balancing out the fact that he is so new. So hopefully working between the two, the Giants will have, just a good chance for not just those receivers to have a good year next year, but for Barkley to have a good year next year, just for that whole offense to hopefully grow a lot. I'm really curious to see what they see in Joe Judge. So it'll be interesting to see how next season pans out. But you have to have a little bit more hope with that kind of a veteran coach as the offensive coordinator.
Real quick, do you find with the hiring of Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator, do you think that that is a good thing for Daniel Jones and his development, and maybe Saquon? I mean, Saquon Barkley is going to be a first-round selection regardless of him having a down year in 2019 because he's just so immensely gifted. But do you think it's a good thing for Daniel Jones, who had an up and down rookie season? But do you think Jason Garrett helps him develop into? Does he help Daniel Jones moving forward?
I think so. And just because just the way you saw Jason Garrett work and develop Amari Cooper with Dak and develop that connection so quickly, I think that having that experience with someone like Dak and with someone like Amari, it's going to be really helpful for that whole offensive, outfield to get the ball more, for Daniel Jones to have that confidence to get them the ball and to actually open up the game so that Barkley can be more successful.
We'll see what they're able to do, because we've seen at least the Dallas offense in recent memory, whether it be under Dak Prescott or Tony Romo during that 10-year tenure from Jason Garrett. We saw that their offense was normally not the problem. No. Normally it was something when it came to either the offense being inconsistent or the defense just being hit or miss on a per season basis. Yeah. But I do love the and by the way, we have people joining live. For anybody joining live right now, thank you, of course, for any and all the support here on the Fantasy Debate here on a Saturday morning over there on the Pacific Coast. I'm already in the mid afternoon, and today's drinking word, we haven't figured that out yet. What is actually sound off in the comments? What do you think is a good drinking word? But the Android Ocean, Joe Judge gets a head coaching job, but Leslie Frazier can't even get an interview. I mean, this is kind of what I was asking about when it comes to the Rooney Rule. I mean, is it complete bullshit? Feels like it sometimes. It feels like people will bring in, a coach that's African-American just because of the Rooney Rule, not because they're actually giving him any serious consideration, and to me, it doesn't make any damn sense.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you got to wonder with some of these hires, what the organization is thinking on direction, especially because some of them seem like such a segue from what they've been doing. And I mean, just to move on to our next one so we can keep rolling through these coaches, just to talk really quickly about Mike McCarthy being the new head coach for Dallas on the other side over there in Dallas. I mean, for me, I guess it's just more Mike McCarthy was famously fired because he seemed to just not care about getting Aaron Jones the ball and utilizing the running game the way that he really needed to do in the last couple seasons. And there were times when you could tell he was clearly just running the ball with Jones, because in the media the past week, it was just blowing up that he wasn't getting him the ball. So I have to wonder, as they hire him, when they have someone like Zeke on the team, how much pressure he's going to have making sure that doesn't taper off. And as a fantasy owner in Dynasty, are you a little bit hesitant with Zeke going into next season? Or is that just over speculation on the final season for McCarthy in Green Bay?
I don't know if I would call it over speculation or a knee-jerk reaction or trying to say that his issues and what ousted him over in Green Bay are naturally going to, it's almost like saying you can try to move away from your problems, but generally your problems are going to follow you wherever you move. Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to McCarthy, he lost the team more so due to Aaron Rodgers. Him in that relationship with Aaron Rodgers just kind of disintegrated over the years after they won the Super Bowl together. Mm-hmm. And you could clearly see that they were not on the same page for probably the last 2 or 3 seasons prior to McCarthy getting let go prior to the end of the 2018 season. But when you take a look at the Dallas Cowboys, I think it's a lateral move. I mean, Mike McCarthy is not exactly a charismatic, galvanize the troops, figurehead like Jimmy Johnson or something of that nature. Like, he's not a, Urban Meyer, like where he just, he walks into a room and everybody just kind of gravitates toward him. He doesn't have that gravitas that you would expect from like a Dallas Cowboys head coach. Yeah. And I think a lot of that is on purpose, because we know who really runs the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones.
Yeah, absolutely.
The show's always about him. So, I mean, and that's what's going to continue to be the case. I mean, think about it too. In Green Bay, that's the one team where they don't have an owner. The town owns the football team. Yeah. So it's not the one thing that McCarthy's used to is not having full control of his football team. Sure. So that kind of seems like it's a similar situation over with the Dallas Cowboys. the biggest thing, is, and this is why I don't want to say that how it ended in Green Bay is how it's going to wind up in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Because Aaron Rodgers is the smartest guy in the room 99 times out of 100 when it comes to football minds. And he thinks he knows best. And most times he does know best. Yeah. But Dak Prescott seems like a different type of personality. And I don't think he's going to butt heads with McCarthy as much as Aaron Rodgers did in Green Bay. Sure. So I believe that it is a good marriage, and it's a lateral move, but one that I do think is a slight step up, and one that makes sense if you think you have a team that can win now. He did win a Super Bowl over in Green Bay. He does have that head coaching experience of getting the job done. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to have hope that, like you said, that it's just going to be an extra piece or gear within the machine that is Dallas. I mean, nothing's really going to change, obviously, with Jerry Jones always being the one that runs the team. But hopefully it doesn't upset the apple cart in that way for all of our offensive fantasy players. You like that, don't you? You like that, don't you? Upset the apple cart? I mean, you know that you're speaking to a former produce boy at the great store of Publix. So speaking of which, whenever anybody, I mean, as much analysis I love to do about football, when somebody would ask me about, where dragon fruit comes from and, what foods it goes with, I'm the best bullshitter of all time when it comes to produce and where things are coming from.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. I love it. You and I are both so similar in that, like, if one word gets said that hits a certain word for us, we're just like, segue.
Random segue. So speaking of random segues, we did have a couple other head coaching decisions that were made up this week, though. Finally, the Cleveland Browns, even though it felt like they didn't allow Freddie Kitchens to even get on the team bus after the Week 17 conclusion of that game.
He had to Uber home, absolutely.
Kevin Stefanski, though, with the Cleveland Browns, offensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. I know that they won a playoff game at New Orleans, but then they went on the road and really got outcoached, outplayed, outmanned by the San Francisco 49ers. So give me your thoughts, your initial knee-jerk reaction on Kevin Stefanski now as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Can he fix this mess? Can anybody fix this mess over there in Cleveland?
I think that he has some good potential because, I mean, this past season with the Vikings, I feel like they were trying something different and it just wasn't working as far as getting Thielen the ball, getting Diggs the ball, and being consistent in getting the receivers the ball in a way that we're used to. Whereas the previous season, Adam Thielen was doing nothing but breaking records on yards per catch. So I feel like there's some good things that happened with Minnesota and with their offense that we can get excited about. And if anything, what needs the most work is the consistency with the Browns in their offense, in their receiver game, and just making sure that they're getting the ball everywhere they need to get it. I mean, Mayfield is obviously a talented quarterback. Hopefully he can be excited about the offensive schemes that Stefanski can offer. But I mean, it's going to be a wait and see, obviously, because to me, I'm a little bit more, after seeing what the Vikings did, yes, they did just go to the playoffs. However, I mean, there's been some inconsistencies there. So I'm hoping that it can fix a lot of the issues that the Browns have had, but I don't know that's going to fix all of them.
So when you ask yourself, and I want to kind of switch the gears here to a fantasy perspective for the Cleveland Browns here moving forward. Mm-hmm. Talking about Baker Mayfield and this offense, we saw, Kevin Stefanski come in towards the end of the 2018 year when he was the interim offensive coordinator. Then this year, you saw what his approach was, and it worked. He made things easier on Kirk Cousins by running the ball effectively with Dalvin Cook. And the one thing that the Cleveland Browns have is two capable running backs. Now, that's kind of a problem, though. I mean, where do you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, if indeed they are both Cleveland Browns heading into the 2020 season? Mm-hmm. What do we do with these two? I mean, obviously Chubb was the one that led the way and was still the featured back, but Kareem Hunt was pretty damn involved as we went down the home stretch and once he got back up to speed after that 8-game suspension. Yeah. So, I mean, is Chubb a first rounder with Stefanski now as a head coach? Is he a mid to late second? Where do we take Kareem Hunt? Initial knee-jerk reaction before we obviously have the entire offseason, but what does this do for their value?
Well, I feel like given the amount that Dalvin Cook obviously ran this past season, I feel like it keeps Nick Chubb in the first round. For me, I don't know that he's top 5, but I do think he stays in the first round, maybe mid-first, late first, depending on depth of league, but and obviously PPR and all that. But as far as Kareem Hunt goes, if he stays with the team, I think that he moves up to a second rounder.
You think Kareem Hunt moves up to a second rounder?
I think so, like a late second.
Oh, I don't know if Kareem Hunt sniffs my top 5 rounds. I mean, even if he's there and it's a nice tandem, I get it. In today's NFL, 2 running backs can be productive if used correctly. But I don't have Kareem Hunt that high. I have Hunt somewhere probably around like 6th, 7th, 8th rounder. I mean, because assuming Nick Chubb is still going to be the lead dog, I still have Nick Chubb as like a mid to early 2nd round pick if Kareem Hunt is there. Now, if Hunt, they let him go or something of that nature, then Chubb becomes an automatic like mid 1st rounder to me.
Yeah.
Mid to late 1st.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But and speaking of which, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. Did you see that stupid shit with Odell Beckham Jr.? Okay,
so I jumped all over that because I was like, of course, someone else is going to break the law in the offseason. But I looked at the video and it's just, I don't know, to me, it doesn't, he's just being obnoxious in a locker room, but I don't think that it's anything worth getting arrested over.
It wasn't a lot. Hold on. I mean, you did see him pull out a couple hundreds and on the football field. This wasn't even in the locker room. This wasn't at a nightclub. This wasn't at a restaurant. This was after they just won the national title game.
Yeah.
And homeboy Odell Beckham Jr. whips out his wallet, like a ton of hundreds that, makes me feel really sad about my current earning potential. Then
but you're not
does like the old like mafia handshake with Justin Jefferson surrounded by media cameras.
I mean, he's being Odell, which is just a complete show and a jackass, to be honest. But still, like, I don't think, as far as getting arrested for a misdemeanor for an assault, I think that was a bit much.
That's a bit much. I mean,
that's a bit much. Yes, I agree completely. He was being a total jerk, but I don't think it's anything worth.
The funny thing is you say he's being a total jerk. If he would have done it differently or something, or if there's like, I get where he's coming from to a certain extent because Justin Jefferson's going to the NFL. And then, Joe Burrow is going to the NFL. I mean, guys are no longer collegiate players. And they should be, I'm kind of the feeling that they should be compensated monetarily anyway for being a college athlete.
Absolutely.
So if he's trying to make a point in that, and really he's handing out money. I mean, that's actually a very generous thing to do. So if you think about like the act of giving someone, cash money, I mean, that's actually a generous thing to do. We praise people who, give money to charity all the time. But again, you're right. You have to keep it within context. That can put not only those players in hot water, but specifically the LSU football program, which has helped you get to where you got.
Yeah. There's just
why bring that on your team?
Yeah, no, it's clear that there's no level of respect or just having that understanding of your actions and how they can be read in so many different ways. I mean, you can be excited about your team won and be silly and ridiculous, but like, come on, it's just all at a different level. And I agree. I feel like a lot of these college players get taken advantage of in the system for the fact that they don't get paid to do what they do, but their likeness and all gets used to sell tickets, and these schools make tons of money off of them. I do agree that like a lot of these players, I feel like at this level should be compensated in some form. But to say that, put that aside, there's a different time and place to address that than doing it the way that you're doing it. Like, I'm sending a message. This isn't sending a message. How about you have a nice, strongly worded interview that fully lays out your points versus looking like a total showboat and a fool?
So, and the thing is that Odell Beckham Jr., he's not an idiot. He's actually very well spoken. I think he's a smart cat. So when you do something like this, and the argument that I would have is like, oh, he's giving money, away for, to people. Like, that's a great thing to do. Well, you did it in front of a bunch of news cameras right after their national championship victory, when the NCAA, the governing body of all of these players and these programs, always have a microscope on them and have serious ramifications, consequences for things of monetary value being given to players.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to give money to Joe Burrow or Justin Jefferson or any of the other LSU players, why would you do it like with a bunch of news cameras around? Like, I'm not advocating or saying that he should be paying people under the table or anything like that. I'm just saying if you're going to do that, you're smarter than that. You know this is going to be a talking point. It's so dumb. That's dumb to me.
No, all of these athletes know that they are completely under the microscope. So to not understand your actions in front of media and in that kind of setting and just see what could happen with all those things. And then, I mean, the misdemeanor thing was for him slapping the butt of a police officer. Okay, that's just like, come on, just calm down. Like, that's one, I think that's a bit too much for too soon, but also he's just being an idiot. Like, stop being an idiot. Can you rein it in?
I think I saw another like post on Instagram or something of that nature where he like grabbed one of those, what is it? Not a microphone, but an earphone or something like that. Your boy looked like he was partying it up at a national championship game. Sure.
I mean, obviously have fun. Your team just won. This is awesome. Like, but you have to have a certain level when you know you're Odell Beckham. Like, you do anything. You walk down the street, you buy a pretzel, someone's going to have a picture of you doing that. Like, how about you rein it in for 5 seconds and not be a complete loser?
You ever seen the movie Liar Liar? It makes me feel like giving him the advice that Jim Carrey gave to one of his clients. Stop breaking the law, asshole.
Yeah, no. Simple. I literally have that clip play in my head every time I see an ESPN notification that says, breaking news, so-and-so just did something they shouldn't have. It's like, ugh, can you guys just...
Come on.
Can you just be cool? Just this once be cool. Like, can you calm down? Just stop breaking the law. Let's understand that you guys have the platform that you do and just not be dumb. Just not be dumb. Like, please.
It's for the good of mankind.
You have one job. You have one job. Just do that job and stop breaking the laws. It's really not that hard. I can do that job. I mean, I wouldn't be very good at it if I was a receiver for the NFL, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, that ship sailed a long time ago for me too. So, so we got, of course, a couple people joining us live. Will Jenkins, good to see you, Will. What is up with D? Got any good responses? I almost feel like I want to go Game of Thrones or Braveheart voice with D. Like, start speaking. Yeah, D. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Mike England, where's Uncle Mike? Look, Uncle Mike and Tater taking shots. You got to ask Uncle Mike that. I want to get on the mic with him as soon as possible. No pun intended there. But, of course, Uncle Mike was in Nashville this past weekend. So just living it up in the Music City. And then, of course, he said Browntown. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns continue to be an absolute disaster of an organization, but we'll see what they do under Kevin Stefanski. But we do have some other news, correct?
Yes, we do. Just to really quickly talk about this, because I feel like it's a topic of conversation that a lot of people are having in different contexts, but I just wanted to give you guys my take on it. Luke Kuechly has retired at the age of 28. It was a very emotional video, and we're sorry to see a player of his caliber obviously leave the NFL. He was, and I believe we were talking about this before the podcast, but one of the best of his generation at his position. I feel like on the tails of Andrew Luck retiring at 29, Gronk retiring as well, so young. I think that this is going to be a new trend going forward, where we see these players who Luke Kuechly famously has had multiple concussions and had issues coming back from those concussions. And I do believe these players are going to start being much smarter in the way that they treat their health going through their careers. No one has to anymore play for the money anymore. There's so many other ways that these players, after making it so far, can have careers outside of the NFL, that they're going to be smarter with their health. And especially when it comes to concussions, I feel like it's going to be a bigger trend to see these players retiring younger. It's obviously sad as fans to see some of your favorite players leave, but for me, I'm actually really grateful that he's leaving when he is, because it was such an issue.
Well, Luke Kuechly, in one game in particular, he got a really nasty concussion, and it almost looked like he was – I couldn't tell. Maybe he was crying on the football field.
Oh, I remember which one you're talking about, but yeah.
Man, it was heartbreaking because it's scary, because a guy like Luke Kuechly, who a lot of times is one of the, if not the baddest man on the football field at a given moment. And it was an absolute pleasure to watch him play the game of football. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, especially when it comes to head injuries for a linebacker, if you've had multiple concussions, and and they just continued. I mean, that number can't go down.
No, it can't.
It's not like you can go into a football season next year and go, I can't wait to reduce the number of concussions that I get. These are collected over the entirety of a career, and you start to have these issues. That's your brain. That's your mental health that's at risk. And like you mentioned, there are other, I mean, granted, they're not going to be getting the paycheck that they got while on the football field, especially a linebacker that's reached the echelon of being one of the best, if not the best at his position in the league.
Sure.
At the age of, what was it, 28? I mean,
yeah, he retired at 28, Luck at 29.
Physical prime. I mean, physical prime of a football player's career is generally right there. I mean, Kuechly, it's sad to see him go, but he's going to do great things elsewhere. I mean, I personally wouldn't mind seeing him in the broadcast booth if that is something he wants to entertain. But I tell you what, man, that he left everything on the football field, and
absolutely.
I mean, as far as what he did playing the position of football, I mean, he wasn't somebody that jumped out as far as like the best athlete on the field. He didn't run the fastest 40 or anything of that nature, but his ability to play the game between the ears and diagnose plays, he was something special. So, I mean, as a Buccaneers fan, I'm still going to miss watching him play on Sundays, regardless of whose team he played for.
Absolutely. And generational talent at his position. Amazing to watch on the field. Like you said, just such a smart player, the way that he played defense and the way that he went after quarterbacks, just the way that he played the game and the way that his teammates obviously loved how much playing with him. I mean, all you did when the announcement came up was see all of his teammates and so many other people outside of his team appreciate how much he did at the position for the sport. And I remember the play that you're talking about where he was concussed and he was crying visibly on the field. Later, he was interviewed and he said he didn't remember any of that. So all that we saw after that hit, he didn't remember until he was back, in the locker room. That's when his memory actually turned back on, which is so terrifying when you can look back and see yourself and see, that your brain was just off during that time. It's very terrifying. And I know that there's a lot of advances in health and science just with hyperbaric chambers, how they're used by players almost nightly with some players, and getting more oxygen to the brain to feed it to help heal in different ways. But there's only so much you can do when you continue to play the sport and get hurt in that way. So you can only continue to put Band-Aids on for so long before you really deteriorate your quality of life after sport. So I feel like this is going to be so much more prevalent, seeing these players retire at young ages. So I just wonder, and also, it's very scary to see how many injuries that can happen to them. You love the sport, you love the game and all this, but it also goes back to why we like the different rule changes they're trying to make to keep these players healthy on the field and to keep them safe. Knee-jerk
reaction, because once upon a time, Patrick Willis, the 49ers middle linebacker, he was great. And as far as what Kuechly has done on the football field up to this point, is he a Hall of Famer?
In many ways, I feel like he is, just because of the way he played the game and how it's hard, though, because I feel like all these Hall of Famers are, players that took the team to playoffs, took them to Super Bowls and all that. It's hard because with the Panthers, he hasn't taken them that far and that long. I mean, there have been obviously.
He went to a Super Bowl back in 2015.
I mean, he did, yeah, but and won.
No, I'm
sure.
So here's the thing. I always think that the Hall of Fame argument is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Because some consider Hall of Fame worthy longevity, numbers, accumulations, Pro Bowl, stuff of that nature. And then there's other folks that have a criteria. Was he the best at his position? Did he revolutionize his position while playing the game of football, whatever amount of time that was, a la, Gale Sayers or Terrell Davis.
Yeah.
So for me, Kuechly was right there among the best middle linebackers, if not the best middle linebacker during his NFL career. He's certainly a fringe. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I do think Kuechly one day gets in.
Yeah, I can see that.
Milky J.
I know. I saw these popping up. I'm like, how do we even transition here?
Coochie Lele. I mean, could you imagine having to say that? I mean, I do play by play. So I'm sitting there like, if I have to get, Luke Cucciolili on the tackle. Like, I can't even picture having to say that with a straight face.
Yeah.
But I do like how he's saying that we are mispronouncing it. That's fantastic. And
Yes.
Will Jenkins, the pen is blue.
The pen is blue.
Damn pen is blue. Anyway,
So good.
so we can go ahead now and kind of transition to the matchups that we have tomorrow, Sam. What do we got on the docket?
I'm so excited for these matchups, and I feel like everyone is. These past couple games have been so exciting, and that's one reason why I think we're both so sad that we don't have Saturday football, because the games have all been so good. Everyone on the edge of their seats excited for these games, and so many fun upsets and different things to see. So I'm excited to see the Titans versus the Chiefs and the Niners versus the Packers. I think these are both going to be great games. First off, we're kicking it off with Titans versus Chiefs, and we can go quickly and back and forth and DraftKings players we think will be, top producers.
Oh, yeah, real quick. The drinking word is Mahomes. Yep.
All right. Well, as you all know, I'm still doing the intermittent fasting, so I guess I'll be chugging coffee and adding to the crazy hyper energy I already have for the day. I really feel bad for whoever I have to deal with this afternoon, because this is going to be a lot to come down from.
Yeah, well, thanks for going ahead and making me deal with you on the air.
You're welcome.
Let's go, though. So with both of these games, and obviously we're going to dissect the AFC matchup first, right?
Yeah.
So they're rematches of earlier in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in particular, this Kansas City game took place between them and the Titans at Tennessee. And it's almost like a carbon copy of what the Titans will need to do in order to come away with a win.
Yep.
And oddly enough, Derrick Henry's been averaging right around 200 yards rushing in the postseason per game.
Which sounds like a joke number, but it's probably pretty close.
No, but get this. He had 188 and 2 scores on the ground back when they played the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season.
Yeah.
So obviously Derrick Henry's going to have to continue to be all-world Derrick Henry, arguably the best running back in all the National Football League. He's definitely the best one left in the postseason. Best one left
for sure.
But as far as what they're going to have to do against the Kansas City Chiefs, look, Patrick Mahomes threw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns last time the Titans and them faced off.
Yeah.
And now we're playing at Arrowhead.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you first, how do you see this one playing out?
Well, after watching the game last weekend and seeing, the Chiefs down by 24 and thinking, wow, they need to regroup. We know they can regroup and come back from a lot. So I believe that it's going to be another huge game for Mahomes, and he's going to have a ton of yards. So,
slow down with that Mahomes roll.
I know, but
you're gonna have your boys struggling by the end of the show over here.
This is not good for you, because I'm really hyper, and so that means I'm going to talk faster and keep saying the same word multiple times.
Go, let's go.
But anyways, I think for the quarterback position on DraftKings, I think that he is definitely worth the money, just because you know how much he's going to throw in this game. They're going to have to keep up, because it's going to be a really high-scoring game. The Titans are going to be able to run the ball very effectively, because they have all season, they have in the playoffs, and we know that the Chiefs are not really the best at stopping the run. They've done a little bit better this postseason. However, still one of their biggest weaknesses. So Derrick Henry, the giant fridge that he is running through that line, is absolutely going to dominate. And then Mahomes will have to continue to throw the ball a lot.
So I agree with your assessment in the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs, their one weakness on defense that's glaring, I think, is their inability to really slow down strong rushing attacks. And no one has a better one left in the playoffs than the Tennessee Titans, led by Derrick Henry.
Absolutely.
So I do think that Derrick Henry is still going to have himself a big game. And really the formula that the Titans have taken to New England and to Baltimore, that's what they need to do, is they need to copy and paste that and take that strategy into Arrowhead and try to execute it. But the problem is, we saw last week. Now, granted, the Houston Texans do not have the talent offensively up front to be able to run the ball down your throat that the Tennessee Titans do. And they don't have that guy named Derrick Henry. They didn't have that dude. Carlos Hyde, quality player, but he's nowhere near the level of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they couldn't take advantage of the 24-0 advantage they got to start that game at Arrowhead. But the thing is, you saw how quickly Patrick Mahomes can move the ball down the field with these weapons.
Yeah.
I said his name again, but
yeah. I already said it once. You're totally screwed. You're totally screwed.
Yeah, I really set myself up for failure.
You absolutely did. You didn't have to pick that word. You could.
I know. I'm gonna have to go the State Farm guy route and go, have you met my Mahomie? And just call him Mahomie the rest of the get out of it by a technicality.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
But I was gonna just to wrap up real quick. There's no, even if the Titans are able to get a lead and to start trying to lean on that defense of the Kansas City Chiefs by running Derrick Henry, we saw last week that Mahomes is just going to keep firing away, and he can put up 4 touchdown passes in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, they can put their foot on the gas and put the lead out and never take it off. And seeing that volume, I think they broke a record, didn't they, for a number of drives where they scored on a touchdown?
7 consecutive possessions, yes.
Yeah, it was insane. So we know what they can do offensively in that way. It's just going to be about the Titans' defense hopefully trying to get them tired, and then the Titans also maintaining their pace the rest of the game to continue their offensive push. So it's going to be a super high scoring game. Real quickly, Tyler joining us saying shots. I think that one's for you.
I had to catch up real quick. My apologies.
Absolutely. And then we have a couple questions from David. So he's got 3 questions and would like them answered individually. 1, you were numbers 15 for the Chiefs. 2, what player from the Chief kind of sounds like a frog when he talks? And 3, fill in the blank, Patrick.
Oh, boy. So I get where you're going with this, David. So I'll go ahead and oblige. Yeah, number 15 for the Chiefs, Mahomes.
Oh, boom.
What player from the Chiefs kind of sounds like a frog when he talks? That's kind of funny. Did you see that soundbite that he had actually? Apparently, there was a Kansas City Chiefs fan that went viral because he felt as if he was bad luck in the first quarter. He left at the end of the first quarter because the Chiefs fell behind by 21 points at the end of the first quarter. So he actually filmed himself leaving Arrowhead Stadium. And then, of course, the Chiefs had that, record-setting comeback. And a reporter actually asked Mahomes about it. I went ahead, and this is answer number 2. Mm-hmm. He's like, what advice would you give that fan? He's like, watch next week's game from home, please.
Absolutely.
That was a baller ass answer, but I never really thought that he sounded like Kermit the Frog or anything like that.
Can you fill in the blank on number 3?
And then number 3, of course, Patrick Mahomes. Kudos, my man.
Cheers.
All right. And then Nick Bird.
Saying what up?
What up,
my
Nick?
friends?
What up,
when Nick joins us? I feel like we always have our crew. It makes me feel so warm and special when you guys are all joining us.
So last week, though, we saw the sheer fact that the Houston Texans had no answer whatsoever for Travis Kelce. Mm-hmm. 0. I mean, even and by the way, I'm so happy that we're going to be able to see Tony Romo call a game. I mean, I'm serious. When you're sitting there watching a game and Romo is dissecting what he sees in front of him, it's makes the viewing pleasure for someone that's a football junkie like us so much more enjoyable because he's sitting there saying, look, you got to get out of this. You got to try to double him. And I love when he calls a game.
More so than someone that says pass caught.
Pass is caught. Pass is broken up. I mean, Joe Buck really mixes up his delivery. So again, if you're looking to party this Sunday, every time Joe Buck says pass is caught in the 49ers-Packers game, you go ahead and take a drink. You won't make it to halftime.
Don't make it through the first quarter. You'll be asleep. But anyways, yes, I love what you're bringing up with Travis Kelce as far as, best position this weekend. I mean, just seeing how effective. I mean, and it hasn't ever been really a question whether or not, our Mahomie can get Kelce the ball, but just how much he can do in the offseason. And tomorrow's game is not going to be anything short of that. And like we said, it's going to be really high scoring. There's going to be a ton of yards, ton of catches, a lot to benefit from for Kelce. I think that what's going to be really tough on DraftKings is whether or not you want to stack the two, or if you want to pay high for Kelce and then go with someone more like Rodgers at your quarterback position.
I think you're going Mahomes. I mean, and I'll
I'm just saying, if you're trying to save money, like these prices are going to be high.
Of course. I mean, you're presenting a different side of the argument or a different side of the coin, but from what I saw, not only reviewing the film of the matchup with the Titans earlier this season, but then also what he was able to do to the Houston Texans in that comeback, and in particular that second quarter where he threw 4 touchdown passes. The Titans, unless Mahomes just has an off game or they're able to apply pressure, I don't think the Titans have what it takes on the back end to be able to slow down Mahomes. I don't, because if you sit in zone coverage, which is what they did for a good majority of that matchup against Lamar Jackson, if you sit in zone against these athletes, against these pass catching options, and you let them just run through open zones, the Chiefs are going to win a track meet 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And we saw what he did. He threw for 443 yards back when they faced off earlier this season. I mean, you can't sit in zone. He will pick you apart. And then if you try to go man to man, and this is the one thing that I think you can do the Kansas City offense, if you have the man coverage corners to be able to hold up on the back end, if you go zero coverage or cover one and bring the house and make Mahomes throw or make a decision quickly, then you definitely can at least slow down this offense. But outside of them dropping passes or just making it ugly, I don't see the Titans having enough defensively to slow down this Chiefs offense. And I know I said it once.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a drink there.
It's kind of easy for you to sit back and just say, oh, yeah, you got to go ahead and drink.
Well, I'm intermittent fasting. I'm working on a diet.
That was at the end. My bad.
It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. It's too early. It's too early for White Claws.
It's not too early. By the way, if anybody's, we need to get a seltzer on board for, Sam. Someone needs to provide Sam with free seltzers.
Yeah, if I could get, some sort of promo or endorsement for a seltzer, I will just line them up behind me and just knock them down as we're recording. Just, helping you guys out. Help me help you. It would be perfect.
I love how they're bringing up, though, Tony Romo. I'm not the only one that feels this way about Tony Romo. And by the way, I want to do play-by-play, and my ultimate goal is to be the play-by-play guy. So basically, Jim Nantz, I'm coming for your job. But Jim Nantz, you're safe. But I would love to call a game with Tony Romo. I want to do play-by-play with that man. Not to mention, I've been told that I look like him, which I think is laughable because he's a much bigger, taller, and more handsome version of myself. But that would be awesome to call a game with Tony Romo.
Yeah, no, that would be sick. I mean, and I agree. I love listening to Romo call games. I think it's so much fun. And just hearing how he sees the game differently than how we're used to hearing announcers call the game, it makes it so much more fun. Like you were saying, I love that it really makes it more enjoyable. Plus, when he calls something and it obviously immediately happens, it gets really exciting because it's like, woo, can you just read the next play and make us all a little bit on the edge of our seats? It makes it so much more fun.
Do you think you should take the ESPN deal, though? I would love to see Romo on Monday Night Football. No offense. By the way, I hate how people just shit on Booger McFarland.
I know.
He is a little bit, sometimes he points out the obvious. Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
But I actually like Booger McFarland. Joe Tessitore is the one that, if you ever played ESPN Fight Night, the old video game where it was like a boxing video game, Tessitore was the guy that did the play-by-play for it on the video game. I used to play that game ad nauseum, like for hours upon hours. So it's hard for me to hear Tessitore's voice on a football broadcast. Although he did come up with this was completely by mistake. He said decaf Metcalf. That should totally be a drink at Starbucks.
That should be. I think it should be. You know what? It probably is in Seattle because home of Starbucks.
Right.
Home of Metcalf. Boom. There you go.
You should fire that. I mean, if they didn't come up with something that next morning called the decaf Metcalf, then whoever's in charge of their marketing should be fired immediately.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that cup should also come with like a 6-pack drawn on the cup.
Right?
That's brilliant marketing right there. You're welcome. $1 million idea. You guys can just have that in Seattle.
I want to when I look at DK Metcalf and some of like the pictures that they keep posting on broadcast, it makes me want to wear a muumuu whenever I'm in front of a camera. Just because I'm so embarrassed of it's body shaming whenever I see DK Metcalf on screen.
You could fix that yourself. You just got to get up and work out in the morning.
Oh, rude. Let's move on.
Really quick though, we've got so many people jumping in the comments. I don't want to miss anyone. Nick Bird, Henry has gotten them there, but I think that this is the game we're going to see the Tana Goat can hang with Patty Ice. I love that. I will say that Hill and Kelsey dominated the Titans in the regular season. Yes, they absolutely did, but I love the Patty Ice and Tana Goat call out. And for me, I know that we're going to end up talking about this because we'll pick our games and, we're adding to our list of games that between you and I that we're picking, but I'm still taking the Titans in this game.
Okay. Yeah,
just on the side. And Tyler saying, jam in Mahomes and get your Rodgers exposure from Adams. He can get a 30-point game without Rodgers getting 30 plus. Rodgers has been the Rodgers we've had in the past. Some DFS takes there. Appreciate that, Tyler. And he's also telling me to go drink. Sam, drink, go drink. It's Saturday. You have permission for a cheat day. Guys, I got goals. And I'm too early into this to stop that. So I'll have a really solid cheat and post it all on Instagram in a couple months.
Yeah, I got goals. And this will wind up on my couch with a nice buzz after a beautiful episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam Tate. So I'm with you, boys.
Appreciate it. Nick Bird also agreeing, but the Titans still pull off the win. See? Got some people in my corner.
Well, you got some people in your corner. I'm going Patrick Mahomes. I mean, 2 years in a row, AFC Championship game. I just think that they have too much firepower for the Titans. No offense, it's been a great run for the Titans. And if I eat my words, I eat my words. But yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs.
So in this game, then, are we just calling Derrick Henry as our number one running back for DFS? Mahomes is our number one. I mean, you know what? I'm going to throw these into a lineup just to see what kind of cost this gets us, because
I'd rather stack this game, to be honest with you. I'd rather go with your boy number 15 for Kansas City at quarterback. I'm not saying it again right now. I need a break. Then I've got there's no way I'm not putting Derrick Henry in my lineup. But really, the guy that I want to have too, Damian Williams. I mean, he dominated the snaps last week and kind of proved to be the option that they trust the most in the playoffs. At the running back spot for Kansas City. So. Yeah. For that reason, I think that you go with, those three players at those three positions, and we can kind of talk about some of those other receiver options as we move into the other game.
I mean, would you throw someone like Tyreek Hill in there?
I'd rather go with Travis Kelce. If I'm going to, I've
got Travis Kelce. I'm doing like a shopping list right now based on our top ones, just to even see if this is a lineup that people can afford.
I would rather, and at the flex spot, to be frank, I want to go with George Kittle. I want to double up on the tight ends.
I like that.
I like the matchups for both of them. So, and I know it's a little unorthodox to use a tight end in your flex, but Kittle absolutely diced up this Packers defense when they met back on November 24th. So, and it really, and we can, are there any Chiefs or Titans receivers that you want to have in your lineup? If we're going with Mahomes, I don't blame you if you want to have one of his receivers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I would probably prefer AJ Brown for the price, but we still have another game to shop through. So let's just kind of go back and forth as we fill out this lineup.
Parking lot it. I got it.
But I think it would be really fun if whatever lineup we end up with, we submit it to as many DraftKings open contests as we can and just see how we end up.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, that's
you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah, you play to win the game. There's like a bunch of other versions of that we could go into. But let's move on to the Niners versus the Packers.
All right.
And I think that with this game, as we've seen all season, it's going to be the Niners defense absolutely dominating and stymieing Rodgers. I mean, we can talk a little bit about the last time this team met, and it looked kind of like an NFL team playing a sophomore high school team. Like the matchup was not even. But with the way that the Packers have been playing towards the end of this season, are they back on track? Is Rodgers back as previous Rodgers, as old Rodgers? Are we going to see them actually make this a competitive game? Or are we going to see the Niners absolutely stuff them?
So here's the thing: when I'm looking at this game and I'm looking back at that 37-8 dismantling of the Green Bay Packers in San Francisco earlier this season.
Yeah, and the game is in San Fran again.
Correct. History doesn't necessarily repeat itself. Both teams are going to make adjustments. Both teams are going to take a look at the film tape, dissect it, and try to come up with some sort of game plan to avoid tendencies in places that they got torched and burned at some point during that previous matchup. The problem is when it comes to Aaron Rodgers in this offense, we saw what the 49ers defense did to Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
And it's no offense to Aaron Jones, who's had a fantastic season.
Yeah, won me a league. I'll say it over and over again. Aaron Jones won me a league. I love him.
Hashtag free Aaron Jones. Finally, they did, and you saw what he's capable of doing in this offense. Aaron Jones is a great player, but the problem being Dalvin Cook, I think, is a little bit better, and they absolutely took him out of the game. Like it was 9 carries for 18 yards for Dalvin Cook. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to do the same thing. You're going to, and this sounds insane, but they're going to try to force Aaron Rodgers to beat them. Now, what they're going to do is you're going to have to slow down Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Jones on first and second down and keep them behind the sticks. It's exactly what they did back when they beat the brakes off the Packers on November 24th. The problem is the Packers, even though I love David Bakhtiari, I think he's the best pass blocking left tackle in the NFL. He can't block everybody. No. I mean, you got Eric Armstead, D Ford, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas. I mean, I didn't even mention Nick Bosa. I mean, they've got so many mismatches along that unit up front to be able to harass Rodgers if they get into third and longs. All they're going to do, and what they did to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the best at diagnosing what an opposing defense is trying to do to him pre-snap. They're going to bracket Devontae Adams because who the hell else is going to beat you at the wide receiver or tight end spot? I mean, that is the formula. And I expect if they can't get Aaron Jones going on the ground, which I don't expect that they will, I think the 49ers defense again puts it on this running game. You're going to have Aaron Rodgers be superhuman. And
absolutely.
No offense to him. I don't think he's that guy anymore. I don't think that he's that dude that just comes in no matter what your game plan is. Aaron Rodgers is just going to carry you to victory. I don't think he's that guy anymore. And I hate to say that because he's still great, but he's not. I mean, there's a new sheriff in town when it comes to the best quarterback in the NFL, and his name is Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely. And I'll drink to that.
We can all drink to that. I don't need more coffee, but I'll drink it.
So
all being said,
all that being said, that's where if the Packers are going to have a chance of winning this football game, there's going to have to be an unsung hero in the passing attack. And that's going to either be Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Jake Kumaro, Geronimo Allison. Someone is going to have to make a play opposite of Devontae Adams because they're going to get some open looks.
Yeah, they're all going to have to – he's going to have to pepper the ball across the field in order to have a chance. And, you know, the Aaron Rodgers of old probably could do that, but I'm in completely agreement with you in that I just don't see him as that guy anymore. There are going to be maybe a couple good big plays where you see him extend the drive, but I just don't see him having the endurance to go this whole game and hold off this defense.
They're going to get after Aaron Rodgers. But if we flip the coin, right? Because you look back at this other game that they had back earlier this season, and this Packers defense gave up 37 points to the 49ers offense. So we haven't even touched on that yet.
Yeah.
Look, Kyle Shanahan is the best play caller in the National Football League. No disrespect to Sean McVay or any other gifted offensive coordinator mind. Shanahan's the best. And he knows how to play defensive tendencies and use them to the 49ers' advantage better than any coach in the league. And he put on a coaching clinic, a play calling clinic, back when the Niners spanked the Packers. I mean, Garoppolo threw for 250 and 2 scores. And then we saw it was Mostert on the ground. It was Coleman on the ground. They got whatever they wanted in that game because Mike Pettin, you know, he's done a nice job with his defense, but you've noticed on a couple of occasions, they've gotten torched by veteran quarterbacks or veteran play callers because they're predictable. And I think that you're going to see that predictability unless Pettin, you know, goes against his tendencies that have been all season long. You're going to see this 49ers defense put into the right plays by Kyle Shanahan. They're going to get their shots downfield off of play action. And unless Za'Darius and Preston Smith are able to just, you know, own the offensive tackles for the 49ers and get to Jimmy Garoppolo before he can get throws down the field, I think it's going to be more of the same.
No, I agree. And I think we need to loop this back into our DraftKings too, and also talk about how these players are going to help or hurt your lineup. I mean, we have a great comment from David saying, what's your budget? As we keep mentioning all these big play guys and all these high priced guys. And I mean, this is a really good number for that budget, but I'm still filling these players in. So as we round out, the receivers and running back positions here, and we talk about this game, and even going back to last week's game, I know that I started Mostert in that league, but it looks like I should have started Coleman. So just based on the usage there in the running game from San Francisco. So for you, if you had to pick between those two players, to fill out a running back position, which would you prefer, Coleman or Mostert?
Well, I mean, last week it was Coleman, so this week it's Mostert. I mean,
right?
It's weird because you don't know how to feel about these 49ers running backs. And we saw the knee-jerk reaction. Mostert's $4,300. So, I mean, that's $1,400 you're saving right there at the running back 2 spot. So, for me, it would be Mostert this week. It really would.
No, I agree. I have him slotted in. So then to round out this lineup that we're creating, we've got 3 open wide receiver positions to pick from and 16,400 left to go. So just to go through the lineup I've created so far based on how we've discussed these games, we've got Mahomes first, Derrick Henry, Raheem Mostert, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle rounding out our flex spot as the fun kind of dicey play there. Like you said, we're playing 2 tight ends, but why not double down on someone like Kittle when we know that he's going to be super effective for that offense? So for receivers, we're left with tons to choose from. So it's really just about balancing this out and making a smart defensive pick.
Well, it's really about being able to find which one goes off on
which goes off.
Yeah, I mean, so for me in particular, I have Allen Lazard being the wide receiver that if the Packers are going to win this football game, I just mentioned that I think that one of those, players opposite Devontae Adams is going to have to make plays.
Yeah.
And for me, it's Allen Lazard. I mean, you can certainly make a case for Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but for me, I'm going Allen Lazard. I know it's 4,400, but if we want to save money here, we can go 3,500 with MVS. Because then it allows us a little bit more wiggle room to fill out the other 2 wide receiver spots.
Well, I'll go ahead and put MVS for now, but I do agree I prefer Lazard over him. So then looking at the rest of our receivers, unless you want to just pick defense first and see what we're left with.
Well, I picked the 49ers defense because I did feel as if the Niners defense is going to harass Aaron Rodgers in this game. And
that sounds right.
A lot of sacks, I predict. I just don't think that they're going to have enough. If they're going to get put into 3rd and long, if they're unable to run the football, that takes away a lot of what Matt LaFleur likes to do as far as off-play action. I mean, basically, when I look at LaFleur, who has worked with Kyle Shanahan before, it just feels like Matt LaFleur is a discount Kyle Shanahan.
Sure.
So it makes it pretty easy to try to take away what the opposing offense is doing when he was your understudy. Mm-hmm. So I just feel as if the Packers are going to be fighting an uphill battle here, and I don't see Aaron Rodgers putting on the Superman cape. No. That kryptonite's going to be the pass rush.
Absolutely. And then that also the highest price receiver is Devontae Adams, but I feel like he's not going to meet that just based on the defense that he's going to see.
I think he's going to see a ton of volume. I still think he's going to catch somewhere around 7-8 passes. I just don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to hit the home runs against this 49er secondary.
Yeah. So then from the top, we've got Tyreek Hill and Deebo Samuel next going down, and we've got about 10 grand left to go.
Yeah, but we have to fill out 2 positions. So really, maybe we can go somewhere like Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, above that $5,000 mark if we want to go with a cheaper option. In particular, I think it's going to be I want to go with Deebo Samuel so bad. Like my gut is just going Deebo.
Yeah.
In fact, in that previous game that we mentioned, when they got him on Trayvon Williams, who is that veteran slot corner that we see a lot for the Green Bay Packers, Deebo Samuel was able to make some plays. However, if the Titans got to keep pace with a Kansas City offense that I expect to put up points, I want to have AJ Brown in there.
I know it's It's tough. So we've got I threw MVS in there, Debo and AJ Brown, but we're over by 700.
That's what I'm saying. It's oh no. So I mean, if we wanted, we could throw in the Titans defense. I I don't want to do that against Kansas City because I mean it's just going to counteract what we're trying to do with.
Sure, but I feel like the Titans defense has a chance for some interceptions. They because of the volume that they're going to be throwing. I think that there are some good defensive stops that can get you some good defensive points. So I think it's safer to save money and go.
I mean, if you like all the position players and you just hoping for maybe like a defensive touchdown or something like that, I mean, we can go with the Titans just because that allows us to be able to fill out this lineup.
I think so. I think that's a safer move.
I'm not making a defensive case for the Titans against Patrick Mahomes.
Sure. I mean, I'm just saying you could get a couple, like an interception or two.
Oh, yeah. No,
it could balance it out. But
Vrabel will have them ready to play. I mean, look, he's faced off against Tom Brady, the GOAT, and then the GOAT of this season. I mean, anyway, the MVP likely of this season, Lamar Jackson, in consecutive weeks and came away with victories. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that evens us out because leaving 200 remaining. So just to review, we've got our Mahomes as our quarterback. We've got Derrick Henry, Raheem Mostert, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, Travis Kelce, and at the flex we have George Kittle and the Titans defense.
I like it.
I think that's a good lineup. I think set it and forget it. I think I'm going to apply this lineup, spend all the money I've got left in DraftKings, which is not a lot, but still, I can at least throw a couple lineups in there, and we'll see how it goes. Right. But guys, please sound off or let us know throughout the weekend as we approach these games. If you have any DFS questions, we will do our best to answer those. And thanks, guys, for always, chiming in with all the comments for us. I know that you guys are throwing a bunch in here. We got Nick Bird saying to pay up for Mahomes, Henry, Kelce, and Kittle, and then fill it up with Bourne, Jamal Williams, and the Packers defense. Also like those. And he said maybe MVS getting that one deep shot. I agree. That's why we threw him in there ourselves. He also thinks that Jamal Williams could be more of a dump-off game. I like that as well. I thought about throwing Jamal Williams in there because if Jones gets stymied, they are always bringing Jamal Williams in to bring up the cleanup. So I like that. He says he has a feeling that Jimmy will be throwing 1 to 2 picks.
Good.
I could see that. I mean, the Packers defense has, been a little bit more dominant lately. I mean, they should hopefully make it a good game, but there's a chance. There's a chance for anything.
The recipe for them to win is to get after Jimmy G.
And this one at Trump My Joy, that old leech Belichick cost the GOAT Tom Brady his 7th ring. Fire that old leech immediately.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
That is a hot take. I like it, but I don't know. I think that Belichick wouldn't go coach anywhere else. I think he would just retire. But Nick Bird also saying Hill Bourne is his combo he is going to go with in DFS. So gotta like that.
Kendrick Bourne had a nice game and continues to find spot work. It's just, who knows? Unfortunately, I'm not in those coaches meetings with Kyle Shanahan when he's game planning offensively. So this Niners offense that can hit you in so many different ways. Kind of tough to predict. The only thing I know I can take to the bank, Kittle is going to have himself a good game.
Yeah, I agree with that. So let's just round out our takes. I'm taking the Titans against the Chiefs. You're taking the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we're both taking the Niners in this last matchup.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm taking both home teams. As much as, State Farm has to be praying that they get themselves an Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl.
Ooh, that would be good. That's money in the bank right there.
If you're a conspiracy theorist, you're definitely, if you get yourself a State Farm Super Bowl, we're going to see a YouTuber somewhere, compiling all of those, questionable plays, saying that, this was all arranged by the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Nick Berg just saying one more too. The Niners is the hardest offense to predict other than Kittle. I completely agree, which is also why we were both so on board with putting Kittle in that flex position just for the volume. But I feel like we covered that game as well as we can. I would love to wrap up with our final debate, Derek, which is a question you posed. And I think it's a good one. Who is the best movie sidekick?
So it depends on what you define as a movie sidekick. Now, and I want everybody to go ahead that's still tuning in with us here on the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate. Go ahead and sound off on who your favorite movie sidekick is. Now, I mean, you can, of course, superheroes have sidekicks. So, I mean, that's easy. Like, you know, you think Batman and, of course, Robin to go along with them and then so on and so forth down. You know, that's just strictly superheroes, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going super nerdy, a sidekick qualifies as someone that assists the main character on their journey. And I mean, that's what Samwise in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, even though he's not my goat. My goat for movie sidekick, Donkey from Shrek. That'll do, Donkey. That'll do. And in the morning, I'm having waffles. So look, Eddie Murphy absolutely murders the role of Donkey. So much to where the fact that I feel like he steals. I'm watching just as much for Donkey as I am for actually watching Shrek and the love story with Fiona and so on and so forth. But that's my movie goat. I mean, you think about it too. He took the in Shrek 2, he took the happily ever after potion and turned into a stallion.
Yeah, he turned into a stallion. Yeah, I mean, I love Donkey. I love that was the where you were going, because I was wondering when you asked me this question yesterday, posing it as our final debate. I'm like, what are we just going to talk superheroes the whole time? But I love that you went Donkey with best movie sidekick, because, like you said, a sidekick is someone that advances the main character, helps them go through their journey, whatever it is. Donkey is a fantastic pick. Actually, completely changes the pick I'm going to go with, because now I have full confidence in mine. I'm going to go with Dory from Finding Nemo, being the best sidekick in Finding Nemo. And she's such a good sidekick that she got her own spin-off movie and got her sequel.
Hold on. She's all right. That she is probably one of the worst sidekicks, because she forgets what the hell she's like, half of her thoughts anyway in the middle of the process.
Yes, but you have to know that, I mean, yes, she forgets so many things, but there's so many good moments where she poses the integral question to the main character, where it's what really matters to that character. And through Dory, Marlin was able to go and find Nemo just based on her sheer will and, you know, taking the different view on things. Okay. She was able to help him find Nemo. I mean, without her, he would have gotten eaten by those sharks because he wouldn't have known what to say to them. Without her, he wouldn't have escaped, escapade, the submarine.
Now, I do. The one thing that I loved about Dory was she was talking to this crab, and this crab goes, "Yeah, I know where he is, Bluey, but I'm not going to tell you, and there's no way you're going to make me." And then Dory lifts the crab out of the water, only to threaten with the seagulls who go, "Mine." And then,
all right, I'll talk. See?
No, that was fantastic. I mean, Dory is a sidekick of note, though.
Not just of note, but of substance and valor. And there was so many moments that without Dory, not only would Marlin not have found his son, but Marlin also, he was an overprotective dad. He wasn't letting Nemo live his best life, and helping him grow as his son. With Dory, he's able to change his parenting style and be, a better parent, a happier fish.
What about Rocco from Boondock Saints?
That's a good one too, but we were talking about cartoon characters.
I mean, we could split. We could change gears, though. I know that I went with Donkey because Donkey's my personal favorite. But
sure.
Rocco. I mean, he goes down as a martyr.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I love Boondock Saints. I wanted to give Rocco some love. That guy doesn't get enough credit for his his performance in that movie. I actually loved it.
Yes. Well, with that, changing subjects, Nick Bird commenting Owen Wilson to Vince Vaughn in literally every movie ever. Yes. Although I would say in Wedding Crashers, Vince Vaughn is really more of the sidekick to Owen Wilson's character.
Ooh. Okay. I mean, I would say in Wedding Crashers, yes.
Yeah, in Wedding Crashers for sure.
Owen Wilson's love, saga with, what was her name? Oh, it's not Emma Stone. Who is it?
No, it's Rachel McAdams.
That's it. McAdams. I always get those two mixed up for some reason.
My goodness.
But yeah, no, I mean, Vince Vaughn is an awesome sidekick in that movie.
No, yeah, he's fantastic. And I mean, he, he's the best wingman, really. It's not just being a sidekick, but he is the wingman of all time in that movie.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson was reading "Don't Kill Myself" books before finally he decided he still wanted to live to go to Jeremy's wedding. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, he took so many bullets for him by dealing with that family that entire weekend for him, just so that he would talk to the other girl. Come on, he was tied up in a bed and had to deal with the brother on top of him.
Not to mention had the sock shoved in his mouth that he's been playing football with all day.
Absolutely ridiculous.
He got to keep the painting though.
He did. I'm keeping the painting. I'm keeping it. That was a gift.
Gift, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
I'm keeping it.
Nick Bird also saying, in reality, I'm going with Jude Law Watson to Sherlock Holmes in the Sherlock Holmes movies. I do like that one.
Robert. Okay, so good for the Robert Downey Jr. ones. Did you see that atrocity that was the Will Ferrell one?
No, I did not. But off the Will Ferrell note, Will Jenkins throwing this one in. Cal Naughton Jr. Gotta love it. The shake and bake. He's the magic man. Now you see him. Now you don't.
The shake and bake is nonsense.
What is this shake and bake? Also, by the way, you're trying to do a French accent and you went Braveheart with it. I heard it. I'm sure other people heard it too. That's not a French accent.
Oh, whatever. You didn't even try it. The love is in the attempt, my friend.
What is this shake and bake? It's nonsense. It makes no sense. What is happening? Is it a catchphrase or is it epilepsy?
Jeez. Well, all right. So I did actually in my sportscast yesterday, I quoted there was a guy named Rocket Watts who threw an alley-oop to a player. And I said,
I like that name.
It's something like what was that line that Cal Norton used? Something about like prepare to meet Dr. Watts, like about the tase.
You're about to meet Dr. Watts.
Step a bitch.
You're about to get tasered.
Look, that was a good final debate segment.
Yeah, I liked that one. We got across the board on all of them. We got some good, we got the cartoons, we got the dramas, and we got even the.
Hold on, Mini Me though.
Mini Me is a great sidekick. Yeah. But then also wouldn't number 2 isn't as good of a sidekick as Mini Me, and that Mini Me defends Dr. Evil in so many accounts.
Well, then he kind of betrays him and starts working from Austin Powers, though.
Sure, but like he's a better sidekick than like Fat Bastard is.
Oh, I can't stop eating. I eat because I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy because I eat. It's a vicious cycle. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm a kid anyway. I got a barrel head poking out.
There's no better way for us to wrap up this amazing episode.
I changed my answer. Fat Bastard's the best sidekick of all time.
I can't. I'm gonna hear this in my head the rest of the day. My God.
What, turtle head poking out?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and sign us off, though. Let's go.
All right, thank you guys for joining us for this episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate. As always, you can reach out to us on all forms of social media. You can find Derek at dtater4. You can find myself on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt and on Instagram at Sam_awesome. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already in the tab, and join us next Saturday for another episode as we gear up and get ready for Super Bowl, as we figure out who wins these games tomorrow, and if any more awesome news comes up in the NFL, we're very excited to bring that to you, and of course all the shenanigans. Derek, go ahead and sign us off.
Yes, I will. I mean, you already said it all, except you already know who's going to win these matchups. It's going to be the Chiefs and the 49ers because it's
going to be the Titans and the Niners. There's still something to be figured out, so let's just see how it plays out tomorrow and blow each other up on text messages as we always do.
And by the way, Nick, I'm definitely the sidekick. Sam's name comes first in the title of the name of the show. I definitely play second fiddle to her. And until next time, everybody, later, says the Tater.